So since the invent of the internet or globally, Africa has gained its fair share of internet users, expanded its reach, and now there's this clarion call for an institution meant for registering internet users and also allocating and managing IP addresses. Before this institution, we had the Asian Pacific Internet Center doing this job for us, and also the AFRINIC American Registration Center and others. But Africa has got an institution that is meant for the management and allocation of IP addresses and also ensuring that internet that circulates within the African region is resilient and well developed and scaled up to a better level. And I'll let you know what the institution is. We'll go for a quick break. We'll come back. I'll let you know. I'll let you know who the rep for the institution is, and then as usual, take a zoom on what they're doing since that inception of the institution and now. So stay with me, don't go anywhere. I'm trying to be teasing now, so just stay with me. We'll be right back. I'll let you know what they are. AAU Talks on AAU TV. My name is Ajaman Otrodako, and today we're talking about the African Network Information Center. You heard about them? Yeah, that's AFRINIC for short. Now, they are responsible for all the IP numbers that we use in the African continent to join the global stream of the internet. So if you can browse with your phone wherever you are with your internet service provider, you have to understand that there's this institution in Africa responsible for assigning, for allocating you the IP address that you can use to browse anywhere you are in the continent. And with me in the studio is Monsieur Brice Abba. He's the Stakeholder Development Manager at AFRINIC. Monsieur Brice, you're welcome to AAU Talks.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr.
Ajaman. Yes, I'm glad you're here because the discussion about IP numbers, IP numbers and then its allocation, its creation, and the AFRINIC is very important. We've been using the internet for a long time in Africa, and yet we didn't even know that we had a network information center responsible for registering internet users in the continent. We think it's a huge role that you're playing for the African continent. So we'd like to know from the basics, what is AFRINIC about? Give us a brief background about the inception of AFRINIC.
Okay, thank you. My name is Brice Abba, as you just said, and I'm the Stakeholder Development Manager at AFRINIC. And AFRINIC was created in 2005. Mm-hmm. It was where we have the HQ in Mauritius. Mm. And the core function is to distribute and manage IP numbers that are IPv4 addresses, IPv6 addresses, and autonomous system numbers for the African region. Mm-hmm. And it was a journey for Africa to be able to have its own regional internet registry, mm-hmm. because in the past Africa was divided into three, mm-hmm. where the need to connect to internet were managed by other region. We have one part of Africa that was managed by the North, the American registry. The other ones were managed by the Asia Pacific. Yeah. And the other one was managed by the European registry. So the African community realized that when an organization in Africa wants to connect to internet, this organization that is in Africa needs to meet the requirement of those organizations that are not in Africa. Mm-hmm. For instance, from Ghana, an organization in Ghana was supposed to meet the requirement of an organization in Europe, even though the reality
is diverse.
Yes. So these were the pioneers of Africa and say, you know what, let's try and set up our own. So it was a long journey. We have a lot of meetings, we have a lot of conferences, and at the end, we have been able to be recognized and incorporated in 2005.
That's fantastic.
So become up to the regional internet registry of Africa.
Mm. So assessing how far we've come with the help of the AFRINIC, the RIPE, and then also the Asia Pacific. Today we have AFRINIC that is rendering that service that they're supposed to render for us now. One would ask, what is on this offer table for AFRINIC? What is the benefits that you have been able to make in the African continent since 2005? Okay,
so one of the key benefits is the internet-related meetings, international meetings. In the past, we couldn't have international internet meeting in Africa. But today, for instance, we have Internet Governance Forum in Africa. This year, we are going to have another Internet Governance Forum worldwide in Africa. We are planning to have an ETF, which is most of the technical conference. We are planning to have one in Africa. And this is because today we have our own way of doing internet. We have our own way of creating policies that meet our realities. So they know that today we count on the internet community. So this is one achievement. Another one is to be able to connect billion of users in Africa, because we have issued like many millions of IP addresses in Africa. We have today more than 2,000 members that are connecting billions of African citizens in the in internet. We also have been able to build capacity. Since 2010, we had a lot of capacity building programs where we were teaching to engineers in Africa. We have a database of over 10,000 engineers that have been trained on how to deploy IPv6, on how to deploy internet-related technologies in Africa. This is possible because we have members that are paying the membership fees, and we are using these membership fees to build capacity in Africa and to induct our community in how internet works and how to make internet better and secure in Africa.
Great. You know, talk of members, I'm eager to ask, who are your core members and how does one sign up to be a member of AFRINIC?
Okay. So AFRINIC has like 3 types of members. We have the resource members. Resource members are organizations like MTN, like AAU, like universities, like colleges, like factories that want to use public IP to connect their network to the internet.
Okay.
So those members are called resource members. Okay. So in Ghana we have over 90 members, and we have most of the internet service providers. We have companies. We have private. I mean, many organizations that, as I said, want to use public IP to connect their organization to the internet. And we also had another type of members that we are calling the registered members.
Okay.
So registered members are the board of directors.
Okay.
So as soon as you are elected board of directors, you are a registered member.
Okay.
And the last one is the associate member. Associate member is for everybody, an organization or an individual that want to support Africa in its effort to develop internet in Africa. So these are the 3 types of members that we have. And the most important is how an organization can become a member, because I just tell how to become a registered member. You have to be member of the board of directors.
Yes.
To be an associate member, you can be individual or an organization, and you submit your application. But for an organization to be a resource member, to use those IP, those organizations need to meet these 3 criteria. The first one is to be in Africa.
Okay.
So you have to prove that you are in Africa, because remember, AFRINIC is managing the IP numbers for the African community and for the Indian Ocean. So when you prove that you're from the Indian Ocean on Africa, this is one check for you.
Okay.
The second point is for you to prove that, to show us that you are running a network.
Okay.
So you have to show that I'm running a network. I want to connect my network, my devices, my staff to internet. You have to show us that there is the need for you to use those IPs.
Okay.
And the last one is to tell us that, to prove that you're not a physical person. So only organization can be resource members.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
So, I mean, with this very huge role you're playing in Africa, we want to ask, dip into your functions, your core functions. You manage and you allocate IP addresses. One want to understand. I understand that without an IP address, you can browse. So how then do you manage and allocate IP addresses? Do you create them?
Okay, so we have like a fixed numbers of IPs. When it comes to IPv4, we have a fixed numbers. So there is nothing we can do like increase in
You don't
IPv4. Yeah, there is no way. It's like we have fixed numbers.
Okay.
And because Africa came in late in the game, as I just explained, we were created in 2005 and the internet was there before. We got only 4% of the entire block. Okay, we got only 4% of this entire block. So we are using this 4% to distribute fairly the IPs on need basis.
Okay.
On need basis to our community in Africa. So this is what we have. And fortunately, we have the new version of these numbers that we are calling IPv6 that were created since 1998. And these give us more possibility. So we have a lot more IPs there, and we're also using the block that was assigned to us to give this IP. Let me tell you that we have what we are calling the central pool. That is another organization, sister organization, that is in charge of giving those IPs to the different internet registry that we have in the world. Actually, we have 5. So AFRINIC is the one for Africa. We have ARIN, the one for North America. We have APNIC for Asia and Pacific. We have LACNIC for Latin America, and we have RIPE-NCC for Europe. So we have 5, and the mother body, if I may say, is ICANN over its function that we are calling IANA, and this the mother body that assign blocks to the different internet registry, and each of those internet registry are using this block assigned to them to issue and allocate to their customers.
We'll be taking a very short break, but before we go on a break, let me ask, so can there be a day or a time where we say we are running out of IP addresses? Can that happen?
Yeah, this is the case. This is the case, actually. Okay. This is why we are here. This is why we are doing this. This is why we are coming to our members. We are traveling all over Africa, because today, out of the 5 regional internet registry, only 2 has a little bit of IP address. So AFRINIC has 1,400,000 for the entire Africa and the Indian Ocean.
Oh.
So we are almost
getting out of it.
Yeah. Because in Ghana, for instance, in Accra, I know that we have more than 1 million people living in Accra.
Yeah.
So we have only 1,400,000.
Okay.
So even if you want to assign, if you want to give one IP for each person connecting in Accra, it won't be possible.
That's difficult.
It won't be possible. So today we are talking about exhaustion of IPv4 addresses. We don't have IPv4 addresses. And this is the reason why we are here, because we want our members, we want the organization that is in Africa to come and get the block of IP address so that they can connect to the internet, because when it's come to IPv4, we don't have enough IP to connect to support the global internet in Africa.
We'll talk more about the plight of AFRINIC and also how they deploy their services and the way forward. So stay with us. Be right back. So glad to have you back on AAU Talks, the voice of higher education in Africa, and we're discussing with Mr. Brice Abba. He's the AFRINIC Stakeholder Development Manager, and we're looking at the state of the AFRINIC affairs with regards to the exhaustion of IP numbers and why they have to reach their stakeholders and negotiate with them on how they can get back the remaining. So let's come back to Mr. Brice about the issue about losing the IP addresses. Is it that the population of Africa is growing, getting out of hands, and has that resulted in the IP addresses shrinking, or there are other reasons that we don't know?
So yeah, as I just explained, we got only 4% of the entire, when it's come to IPv4, because in IPv6 we are good. So we had 4%. So, and internet penetration rates had increased. So today we have more people in Africa that are connected to internet. And for them to be connected to internet, they need IP address. So each network that is connected is more IPs that are used. So this is the reason why today we are almost exhausted all the IPv4, because internet is penetration in Africa is growing days after days. So yeah, this is the main reason why we are having this issue. This issue. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask about, so now what are you doing? Are you saying that the IPv4s with the 4%, who gave you the allocation? Who gave you 4%? Was it what you came to meet, or also allocated to you because of the region that you run?
No, this what we came to meet because we came late in the game.
Oh.
So this is why we came late in the game.
Okay.
And as I just explained, we used to have like the 4 regional internet registries that were dead, were there and were running,
Yeah.
And so when we came in, this what was on the table for us. So yeah, this
Then-
basically, it was fairly distributed. So it's not something like we were discriminated. No, it's just because we came late in the game.
That's fine. That's fine. So now let's give some education about the network. So we have public IPs, we have private IPs. Let's just throw some more lights about what does it mean to have a public IP? What are the conditions, and the other way around, which is a private IP?
Okay, so as I just said, IP numbers are limited. So when we were starting operation on the operate internet, we realized that the way of issuing IPs will lead us to the exhaustion of those IPs very soon. So we said that, okay, instead of giving all those IP, let's separate. So we just pick some blocks of those numbers, the figures, the total figures that we have on IPv4. We remove some range, and we say that those range I'm going to use for private. We are going to call them private IPs, meaning that when you are using them, your device cannot connect to internet. So if you have a service, if you want to run something private at home, and you think that this network is not going to be connected to internet, then you can use this private. But we realized later on that even though they are using those private IP, they are still network devices,
Okay.
and they want to get connected to internet. So we created later on many sharing technologies like NAT, network address translation. We also have PNAT, like port network address translation. We have many other protocols like this that enable a device that have a private IP to borrow one public IP to go do what he wants to do on internet and come back to its private IP. Private IP. So this is like to make it easier. So this is basically, yeah. So you have your network today because again we don't have enough public IP. IPv4 we don't have enough, so we can't connect everybody with public IP. So we said that okay, let's try to separate, differentiate this, but we created those sharing technologies. But we realized that we have many drawbacks with those sharing technologies. We have many drawbacks. It's very technical. We can plan later on with the network a technical workshop where we are going to explain those in the details what are the problems, but we have a lot of drawbacks, and this is why we have created another protocol, IPv6. And with IPv6, we have billions of IPs available. So in IPv6, it's completely useless to talk about private IPs because we are going to have enough public IPs to connect every single person for the next 20 years to the internet. So right now we are okay with IPv6, and we encourage our members and the Africa community to start deploying IPv6. Because when we check, for instance, the trend on the worldwide trend on the internet IPv6 deployment, you can see that America, Europe, and Asia, they are almost at 70 to 80%, when Africa is lagging behind. So this is why AFRINIC is pushing its members to deploy IPv6, advocating. We are giving IPv6 workshop for free, etc., for our community to be able to follow this trend as well.
So there's hope with the IPv6, quite endless, countless supply.
Yeah.
What does it take an institution to adopt the IPv6 approach?
Okay, so we have, like, it's very important because the institution, for instance, if you talk about state members, for instance, before coming to universities, state members, they are following ITU. And ITU has the a resolution, the resolution 63, where the ITU is advising the state members to deploy IPv6.
Okay.
So there is, you know, base for that, for the organization, for development to deploy IPv6. And we AFRINIC, as sector members at ITU, also we are pushing our members because of this statement. So we come to, for instance, when we meet in come in the country and we have a chance to talk to the decision makers, we tell them that, look, your states have signed this resolution at the AAU that asks you to start deploying IPv6. We AFRINIC are here to take you step by step in deploying IPv6 for free when you are a member. So
Okay.
you have to take this opportunity and do it. That yeah. So this is what you have.
Is AFRINIC having the upper hand to detect fraud in the usage or deploying of the IP numbers?
Well, most of the regional internet registries are neutral.
Okay.
Okay, in the way each country is dealing with cybercrime.
Okay.
So this is something that is common for all the internet registry. But we have put in place a system that tells who is using what IP, who is the owner of what IP, etc., etc. So this is one of our core functions to maintain uniqueness of IP numbers. So this system is open for free for everybody. That we're calling the WHOIS, is the AFRINIC WHOIS database. And this WHOIS database is also the same with the other region. They are the only WHOIS database. And we have the project to interconnect all those WHOIS databases. So when you have an issue with a given IP address, you can query this database, and this database will tell you who is the owner of this IP. So this is how we are helping the community to fight against fraud when it comes to use. You can use the IP to do something wrong, you can use the IP. And we also put in place some tools to prevent an organization that is not the owner of a given IP to use it. So we are putting in place tools that we are calling AppKI, and we are putting in tools that is calling ROAS. So those are tools. Those are technical tools, as I said, that we can plan. Like within the with your network, we can plan workshop where we're going to explain deeper how to use those tools. But those tools basically prevent, for instance, MTN to use the IPs that was allocated to Orange, for instance. Yeah.
Okay. So, and you have exclusive right to that WHOIS database, nobody else?
Nobody else. When it's come to the AFRINIC WHOIS database, AFRINIC and AFRINIC members, because when you are a member of AFRINIC, we give you rights to update the information about your organization in this database.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and we also put in place some security mechanisms so that I cannot modify the data that MTN put in the system. Orange cannot do that. Globe cannot modify the information of MTN. And if AU is member, AU won't be able, for instance, to modify MTN data. MTN won't be able to modify AU data as our in this system.
Okay. So we're about to wrap up, and we want to wrap up with the creme de la creme, which is AFRINIC is on a mission. So you're on a mission to meet your stakeholders and then renegotiate on how we can sustain IP numbers for the future, because the users keep increasing. Share with us some of your road targets that you have working with you to ensure that you're able to achieve your targets.
Okay, so today we are targeting government, we are targeting education sector, and because we have our resource members, I mean the internet service providers and the organization that need internet to make money, they know AFRINIC. Now we want to target the others that are also users, like government. Today Ghana is talking about e-governance, e-health, e-banking. To all this e-thing to happen, they need IP numbers. So this is why we are here to talk to them. You must come and get your IPs, because it's the key if you want to develop your system, the key if you want to give better quality services to your customers. Education sector is another major point, because everything is at school. When they know that we don't have enough IP at school, when they know that they have to deploy IPv6 at school, when they have graduated, they know how to behave in the organization. They know how to advocate about what they learn, how to behave when it's come to those resources. So this is why we came in today to reinforce our partnership with organizations like AAU and through the network to advocate the good use of internet numbers. To tell them that we have those services, we have capacity building, we have tools to secure the network. We can teach you how to measure the internet behavior of university of the network. So those are the elements that we are putting in place to our members and our upcoming members.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Brice Abba, Stakeholder Development Manager at AFRINIC. And just as the world is on a quest for sustainability as a commonplace for us all in this world, AFRINIC also plays a very key role in their own unique way to ensure that they sustain the IP addresses and also improve on the quality of all these IP addresses. So you, the entity, can also get your own IP address and then run a sustainable internet system in your institution, just to support the remaining IPs that are in the continent. So thank you very much for your time over here.
Thank you.
And I believe that you're able to achieve your targets, and then we have a much more sustained IP system in the continent. We're glad you made time to watch us on AAU Talks as we discuss the quest of AFRINIC and what they are and what they're doing to support the African continent, stay connected and afloat when it comes to internet circulation and usage. Have a nice day and bye.